Have you ever had your heart shattered in a breakup? You know, having to endure the shock and the pain of hearing those words describing how it's not you, it's me, or I just need to concentrate on myself for a while. Or maybe you received bad news from your doctor with words about how surgery may be able to correct the situation, or certain treatments could give you a few more years. Or perhaps the phone has rung at 3 a.m, and the trooper on the other end says there's been an accident. Or maybe you've had that call from your brother at 10 a.m, trying to console you with the fact that Dad went peacefully with all of his family around him, except you. If you've been there, you know that these were times when words defined your reality, explained what was happening, exposed the awful truth, and you just wanted those words to stop. Stop the words. The pain, the sorrow, the fear, the guilt was just too real, too sudden, too overwhelming to deal with. If we could just stop the words, we could postpone or even cancel the event. But that's not the way it works. We all learn this sooner or later, just as Peter did in our reading today from Mark. In the Gospel today, Mark tells us that Jesus was opening up to his disciples, telling them about what was coming. Jesus told them that he would have to suffer greatly and be rejected and betrayed and killed. And on the third day he would rise up. Apparently, this was not what Peter had signed up for. He took Jesus aside. Peter took Jesus aside and laid out for him how Jesus needed to stop saying such foolish things. You know, he was scaring the other disciples. He was making people question his sanity. It wasn't right. You know, Jesus, you just need to stop saying all these fearful, scary things. And it's understandable. Peter was afraid. Afraid that this new life he had found would come to an end. Afraid that he would lose whatever status he had gained as Petrus, the rock. He was afraid things would get out of control, his control. So he tried to silence Jesus and to just make those hurtful words stop. But Jesus was having none of it. Peter's fear had opened the door for Satan's lies. And Jesus recognized his old adversary from his time in the wilderness. Turn these stones into loaves of bread. Put God your Father to the test. He likes that. And take the easy path. Pay homage to me and come to the dark side. These were the temptations Satan placed before Jesus in the wilderness. And now he was trying once again, through Peter, to convince Jesus to forsake his commitment to God's plan. Stop talking about it. Stop the self-affirmation of your purpose. Just stop. But Jesus did not listen to him. Jesus rebuked the lies of Satan in the mouth of Peter and doubled down on his mission. All of you, he called out to the crowd, all of you who would be my followers, stop thinking only about yourselves and about your own needs. Come on, shoulder the burden of persecution and possible bodily harm. And come with me. Granted, it was not an invitation designed to entice the masses. But it made the point Jesus wanted Peter and Satan to understand. And that point was, I'm carrying out my Father's plan to the best of my ability. I will not conform to your expectations or those of this world. And he didn't. And he doesn't. Jesus was a countercultural phenomenon 20 centuries ago. And he still is today, despite our best attempts to make him look more like us. I mean, would it surprise you to realize that we are much like Peter, or much like Peter was, trying to get Jesus to behave in a way that doesn't embarrass us, trying to make his message more comfortable for us, trying to tell Jesus what to do? Well, that's who we are. And I'm not sure we can help it. We, like Peter in today's lesson, live in fear. Fear of well, it doesn't matter. There's so many fearful things to name in our world that we take your pick. But fear opens the door to Satan and his comforting lies. His assurance that easy is good and more is better. Satan convinces us that for us to be right, they have to be wrong. And not just the mistaken kind of wrong, but evil wrong. Where fear abides, peace departs. Fortunately, Jesus is still telling us God's plan. But like Peter, we just don't want to hear it. In a world so quick to hate, Jesus chooses love. In a world of anger, addiction, self-destruction, and misery, Jesus chooses healing. And in a world of violence, suppression, and righteousness through domination, Jesus chooses peace. And indeed, he calls us to love what he loves. He desires that we too rebuke Satan. And he invites us to join him, to join Jesus in the life-affirming freedom from fear offered in the sacrifice that he made on the cross and in his death-defeating resurrection. We cannot accomplish or even confirm the grace Christ has given us if we try to water down the words of Jesus, if we make them conditional or alter them to look more like the world. We cannot simply tell Jesus to stop telling us how things must be because we don't want to deal with it. We know it doesn't work like that. And Christ knows we are capable of recognizing truth, even if we can't handle it. insisting Christ stop proclaiming the truth won't excuse us from being called to live in it. And for that, thanks be to God.